no veas, a Sevilla. Y al último que cuando ya salió la bien de regla.
It is Saturday on Raid Shadow Legends, but you knew that. Now, fusions, they've been around for some time now, haven't they? We've had some that are good, some that are bad, some that seem bad until you realise, like 6 months later, oh, actually, I guess I should have gone for them. Maybe. And then some that you just didn't bother, and then you got them out of the ancient shard in a way, so who cares, right? Now, obviously, in terms of the ones that are bad, I'm well aware that not every fusion can be on the same level as Armand, Newt, Ancora, all that sort of thing. And yes, that is true. However, at the same time, for fusions that they know aren't on that level, then why are you asking for the same amount of effort? All those shards, dungeon divers, points, etc. You have a people on the Reddit who complain about having to do 3 dungeon divers all the way down to 3.7 thousand points. And what happens after they complain about how unhappy they are? They do it anyway. Anyway, so what we're going to go through today is some fusions that were simply not very good, and you can tell they're nowhere near the amount of participation that, Armand, Newt, etc. had. And while obviously the one we just had is low-hanging fruit, I'm not going to pick that one. I'm going to pick the other one that is hanging almost just as low. And in this case, that is going to be Brugard Jeroboam. Sold as I don't know. I guess he does a bit of everything, really. And many people saw this passive and thought, oh, he's now man's counter. Yes, absolutely. And, well, he just wasn't very exciting. This was a 4-turn cooldown for some reason. It wouldn't have been broken as a 2-turn cooldown, let's be honest ourselves here. And the rest of it was... So, you can tell that didn't get too much, and people just spent their energy and time elsewhere. Going over to another one who's in the Galilean Pact, we're going to have Packmaster Shayak. Now, he was a unique and experimental champion who worked with all of this game's Caragors. I mean, Hound champions. I mean, let's be honest, he was very much inspired by Orc Beastmasters from Middle-earth. But while many were saying, like, oh, they're going to make more of these Hound champions, there's going to be a Cerberus legendary, there's going to be more to do with it, you're going to be missing out otherwise. Guess what? None of that happened. Simply because it's really obtuse to have to keep piling on name after name after name here, to the point where if they just make a whole bunch of hounds, you'd be reading down all the way here, and at that point you're not sure what you're reading. Whether the passive to Packmaster Shayak or the A1 of the average mythical nowadays. So he kind of came and went, and you could tell that he wasn't popular because normally what they do after each fusion is they have a Titan event or a Hero's Path where you can get the 5-star soul for the fusion legendary. They just didn't do that for Shayak. They ran it for Mithrala Lifebane instead, which just goes to show something. Now, obviously, you note that, yes, I have you know how I mentioned before how you just pull it out of an ancient shard anyway? Yeah, that happened. It might have been a sacred, but you get the idea, right? And to be fair, he's not terrible. Block buffs, etc. The taunt, which, they nerfed in Hydra because for some reason they went back on saying like, oh yeah, you can use taunt to stop devouring. Yeah, that's intended. Then they just actually no, we didn't want that at all. What, you crazy? So yeah, thanks nerfing him, guys. Really appreciated. Okay, so going back, and once again, it's going back to Ogren tribes, who are the faction who are always losing. It is going to be Yu-Gi-Oh! The Worm Eater. Now, this was a really weird one. I don't really get the idea behind this, because this passive was designed as anti-Pythian. Now, sure, Pythian is a good champ. There's nothing he really does badly, and you can fit him in most places that you need a cleanse, revive, heal, etc. I'll say he was another fragment collection, much better than most of them. But I think you'd imagine that out of everything that you'd face in Arena, you wouldn't really cite Pythian as the reason that you lost. So them making a fusion entirely to counter him was a bit strange. And then you had this skill. Now, what happened here was people saw this, they saw her moves buffs, and they went, ha! Polymorph! Because this was back when Polymorph would roll every time you tried to remove a buff or place a debuff, instead of just on the first instance per champion. So the chance of him resolving this, even against one-star polymorphs, was in the deep negatives, and it was only after this guy was laughed out of the game that Plarium kind of realised, oh, hang on. Yeah, maybe we should do something about this. Although, it was already too late. The entire game was becoming increasingly balanced around polymorph, and that's still happening nowadays, Pinpoint, Lamasu, etc. But that's for another time. So, yeah. He just was someone that no one bothered with because we wanted a legendary and not a sheep. But speaking of sheep or animals in general, we are going over to Great Hoof Laurashia. Now, notice how these are all Galian Pact champions. Well, that's about to come to an end after this, don't worry. Now, Laurashia was... Well, they buffed her, or is it him recently? I can't tell. Oh yeah, it's a her. I mean, I suppose it's a cow, so yeah. They buffed her because at first this didn't increase turn meter, this didn't give increased accuracy, and this didn't place decrease accuracy. So she did pretty much nothing. People could tell visible from space, and yeah. So I think this one out of many was the fusion that had the lowest level of actual participation. I don't know a single person who went for her, and even now the bot version doesn't really see play, so yeah. This was... I think the thing was that they're still putting decreased resistance at this overpriced premium on a champion kit because it was a relatively new debuff, but just because something's new doesn't mean it's good, right? Okay. Going back and finally over to Tolarian League for this one, and this is going to be Lunatharil. Now, Lunatharil is a weird mix of skills, none of which really synergize with another, and they've kind of just been all thrown together. Now, you would think that, oh, this is a Scarab King champion, right? Guess what? Wrong affinity. Rotation 1 Scarab is red, Rotation 3 is green. If you're a Scarab champion who is not green or not void, you're not Scarab champion. Okay? Simple as that. No ifs, no buts. Now, this was a fusion where not even Plarium had any faith in him. And I'll tell you why. Because for the two fusions that took place before him, one of which was Helicaf and the other of which was Walking Tomb Dreng, what they post on their YouTube channel was YouTube shorts that showcased this champion with like some music or some themed effects. So for Walking Tomb Drang, it was this Silent Hill. Actually, I'm going to just show you this because I think they did a good job on this. Anyway. So, yeah, he is still one of my favourite champions in terms of both visual design and kit design. Like, sure, he's not meta or OP or anything like that, but this just all works really well together, and I have used him pretty often anytime he's allowed, so, yeah. Anyway, going back to Lenatharil, they did nothing of a sort for him. And he was one of those Brogni style fusions where you have to collect fragments of the epics, fuse the epics, level them, fuse this guy. Hardly anyone bothered. It was too much work, and if you missed one thing, you missed out entirely, and some people have better things to do with their lives. Not many of them, but you get the idea. And yeah. And then the last one is going to be Pixniel. Let's be honest, we all knew that in terms of fusions that flopped, she's going to be in the list. She's been buffed twice and still is firmly in the bottom 5 legendaries in the game. Because remember, there are no useless champions, some are just better than others. And there's many, many others who are better than her. Now, if you saw this, you realised just how many boxes this champion needs! And the answer is, yeah, a lot. Because this skill really needed to book for damage 6 times, right? So, yeah. Also, one thing I'll mention is, look at this. Okay? Got it memorised. Now, same faction. Yeah. Better version of the same skill. And Shiramani is an old legendary. Again, they've buffed her once. She also could use a graphical update at some point because, I don't know, kind of like man-face, I want to say. This was back before they had too much of a science into skin design. You can tell in terms of champions like Marksman where it was a bit rough around the edges. And actually, while I'm here, the other one I'm going to mention in terms of needing a facelift is going to be Blind Seer. Like what is going on here with this hair? This is just bits of a mess, and yeah. So yeah, she is still very, very not good. Like this situational anti-freeze, Tormin champ, etc. And at this point, just think of something else entirely because no one is spending this many bucks. Like if you're gonna do so, just. I mean, they're not gonna do it. I don't know why I'm trying to suggest any sort of changes. Not they're gonna listen to me now, are they? So yeah, that is a bunch of fusions who. Some of you did in a way. Many of you didn't. Did you? If so, let me know. Did you have any use for them at all? Or do they just sit pretty in your Pokedex? Anyway, that's kind of myself for the time being. I should have done this 2 days ago, but I had better things to do with my life. Give or take. And, yeah. We're done, so... See ya.